Hey confidants, it's your girl, Daddy Longlegs. Nope, Father Longlegs. This is You Can Tell Me Anything. It's the podcast where comedians confess something they want to get off their chest. The comedian I have here with me today is in New York, because that's where I am recording. We're on the road, baby. She has a really funny show, two shows called Thirst Trap and Our Time of the Week, one of which I've done. They're both on Instagram. They're monthly, so go follow them to find the next time and lineup. Anya Volz, what's up?
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I've been starting off with a little tweet of the guest just to show, because it's like sometimes we get heavy, so I'm like, hey, here's a little comedy from our guest. So this is the tweet I picked from your Twitter. Since the quote, girls who can't stop dating men who are bad for them, quote, niche is taken on Twitter, I have decided my thing is going to be to have healthy relationships and just see where that goes. I love that.
It's true. It may be good for content to have a shitty boyfriend, but
no, I think that. Wait, how old are you? You're a lot younger than me, I think.
Yeah, I'm I think as
I could tell you think I'm going to be mad at you.
Well, as of this podcast,
watch your words carefully.
No. I was just thinking about when this podcast will be released.
Oh, is it about to be your birthday?
Yeah. I'll be 24.
Oh my God, get the fuck out of here right now.
Sorry.
It's okay.
But there is something about the other people my age in comedy really thinking like, oh, it's like cute and quirky and funny to have both toxic traits myself and be dating a toxic person.
So I like to start every podcast by asking for a good confession with my guests, just to have a positive note. So Anya, is there something good you'd like to confess?
Yesterday, I don't even have like my rent money ready myself, and it's right now rent is due. But yesterday somebody had like somebody I don't know, but my friend shared. They were like, oh, I'm like really short in rent and I'm going to be evicted. And I was like, well, I'm short in rent, but I'm not going to be evicted. So I sent them money for their rent.
Oh my God. That's so nice of you.
And
wow.
that's like that. I would never tell anybody that
nice.
if not for you literally prompting me. But I was like,
yes.
yeah, I do have a humble brag actually.
Yes, that's
I
exactly
sent a
the point of
stranger some
that.
rent money.
I say like the good confession, it's like when you drop a tip in a jar and nobody sees it, but I'm like asking about it.
Yes,
so, yeah.
exactly. That was
that's really sweet.
My tip in the jar while their back was turned. But yeah, and I like don't know them, but I do know the person who shared it. So I was like, this seems legit. And I like want to, cause like my rent can be a week late and I'm not going to be evicted. But if like, it seems like they really need it right now. So here's the money. That's
so nice. And it also is like a testament to when people share things like that. It's like, yeah, you never know. Like all you need is one, like they just needed one person. So
yeah,
it worked.
And like so many people have done that for me that I like. There's been so many times where I like really it'll make the biggest difference if I have $30 and like a friend Venmos me $30 and I'm like, yeah, you have no idea how much that meant to me. So I wanted to do that for someone else.
Oh, that's really great. Yeah, I try now. When I was younger, like it's funny because you are very young, but when I was like, I mean, I'm not old, but it's just I like to joke about it. But when I was like much younger, like in college and stuff, I was very frugal. Like I would literally go out without bringing cash or a credit card. I was also annoying. That's annoying. Don't do that. Like if you're going to go out, bring money or don't go out. Yeah. But we were just used to like, dudes paying for us. But then that was my mentality of like, if you can spend $0, do it. So I didn't donate to Kickstarters and stuff. But then after a while, like now as an adult, when I see things, cause I have a job now. So it's like, yeah, $5 here, it's nothing. So if I see, not like I'm loaded, but if I see something and someone's trying to make something, I will always read it now and be like, oh, okay. If I have $5 to spare, I'll throw it in.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I used to be that bitch that got away with just like so many handouts. So now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to support. It's fine. Like
totally. I think that, I don't know. I kind of have, I'm both like very anxious about money and constantly feeling like I'm going to run out of it or like I don't, all the like very like fear-based mentality around money. But then I also kind of like simultaneously see it as something that like comes and goes. And like, it's like all of our responsibility to kind of look out for each other when we can. And I get that from my mom. My mom is like the most like to a fault generous person to strangers. She'll like hand $20 bills to homeless people and not even for the like, like I mean, from what I can tell, it's not to feel good about herself. She just like literally is like, oh, well, I have $20 right now and this would change your entire day. So, or if not like week or whatever, and she's so and we like struggled with money a little bit when I was growing up. So seeing her do that made me always kind of feel like, even when you're struggling, if you have like a roof over your head and like food in your belly, you can like help someone else out.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, because it's not like the $20 you give to a homeless person isn't the $20 that is going to keep you from, like, that's not what's going to starve you. Like,
yeah, unless it is, and then don't give them $20.
Right, but generally it's like you're probably also buying an extra coffee. There's other things, like there's a little bit more give.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good way to put it. Well, I think that's a healthy mentality. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Vermont.
Okay.
And my mom is Dutch, so she's from the Netherlands.
Do you speak
Dutch?
Speak there? I'm like,
I do. I do a little
ignorant.
bit. I can understand it really well, and I can speak it better once I've been in the Netherlands for like 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
But like usually my first week there is a lot of like embarrassing, like not really forming full sentences or misunderstanding people.
Like let's go and like let's eat. Like
yeah. And I know how to like order at a restaurant and how to like ask how much something is in a store, like those kinds of things. But it's one of those countries that everybody speaks English. So the second they hear your accent, they just switch to English, and it's like really frustrating if you're trying to like learn. So that's why.
But they're trying to practice too. No.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. But that's why I've never been fluent. Also, my mom just like didn't speak it to me enough as a kid, and I'll never forgive her.
I feel that way about, I speak Mandarin and then I went to Chinese school, but I don't speak Taiwanese, which is like a dialect that my mom speaks. But I heard it growing up because she would talk on the phone.
Yeah.
And so I picked up words here and there, but it was never spoken to me, so I didn't learn how to speak it.
Yeah.
But I will like know when she's about to get off the phone. Like that's like when they're like, Anya, okay. Like it's like the kind of like, okay, the conversation's wrapping up. Yeah. Okay. And then you're like, that's like all the cues for a kid.
Yeah, I can get the gist of like, even if I don't know the exact words people are saying, there's something about like, I'm so familiar with the language that I can like usually pick up on the gist of like anything going on in that language. But my cousins all speak like fluent English, and I do not speak fluent Dutch. So they definitely give me shit for it. And I'm also like, of course you speak fluent English, like your parents speak it and you were taught it in school, and like there's no reason anybody would speak Dutch outside of like being taught it as a child, you know? Like it's not like my school was like, okay, Dutch lessons, like that wasn't an option. So I try to make it more realistic, the comparison between the two of us when they're giving me shit. I'm like, you took English classes and tests. Like that did not happen for me. Everything is because of my own doing.
Right. Well, yeah, because it's not, I mean, America is one of the only countries that is really just like, no, you don't really have to speak another language.
Yeah, but if we do, if
but they
we
should just
are,
teach us,
it's not going to be Dutch is my point.
True. Yes, that's true.
I'm like, I speak better French than I do Dutch, and I don't really, well, no, that's not true. But I did take, I like know it grammatically better, I guess, because I did take French classes, but I definitely do not know it better than Dutch. Anyway, that is my complicated way of saying no, I don't speak Dutch.
I feel like no, I don't speak Dutch sounds like some sort of like idiom or something.
I know, yeah. Wink.
I don't know what that means. Yeah. Okay, I like to ask about therapy because this is sort of inspired by therapy loosely. So what's your relationship with therapy? Like, do you go?
Yeah, I mean, I have a like very on again, off again relationship with therapy, but at the moment I'm extremely on again, and I'm going twice a week with
to the same therapist?
To 2 different therapists.
Okay, nice. High five. I had 4 therapists this year, so 5 if you count my psychiatrist who writes me meds, but
yeah, I'm gonna see a psychiatrist soon too, but not yet. But yeah, I'm doing EMDR with one therapist, and then just like talk therapy with another therapist.
Gotcha.
And like a little bit of cognitive behavioral therapy with the talk therapist.
I'm interested in that. Well, I've heard EMDR is like a more progressed form of CBT, like similar effects, but CBT takes longer.
Yeah. Well, for me,
how do you compare the two?
I feel like I'm super, super new to both of them. But the thing that I like about doing both at the same time is that so far EMDR, there's a lot of like visualization I have to do, obviously. And a lot of like, I have to be like willing. It's almost like hypnosis. You have to like give permission to your brain to like go to the place that you're trying to, that they're trying to get you to. And I'm obviously like at this therapist because I don't
want to go.
well, yes, that, but like, because in my head, I'm like, yes, I'm willing to do this. But then my like, you know, I like have a really hard time actually doing it in practice. And CBT is good because it's like workbook based and like it's more language
like
based.
Homework?
Yeah, you literally have like a workbook that like, you know, asks you to like list I don't know, it's like it's more language based. So rather than visualizing, you can just kind of see a question and then answer that question.
Okay.
And it helps me get to the point of being able to visualize the things that I'm like writing.
I don't know if you guys heard that. I actually think these mics are pretty good and you can't hear, but in case you did, we're in a hotel room and we're right next to the linen closet. So there'll be a lot of noise.
They're really slamming that linen
Someone's
door.
upset about her day.
But yeah, so anyway, I mean, they're definitely very comparable in the things that they're trying to accomplish, but the way they get there is different, and I think they can kind of help each other.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never looked into CBT, but in reading about EMDR, it comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we like sort of talked about this offline, but I do EMDR, and I've talked about it on this pod, and what you said about like your brain having to needing to accept going there is interesting, because the first time I did it, where the first like true, I don't even know the right vocabulary, because you do a lot of like history intake and that's part of it. The first time I actually went into the memory and had a session, I had like really bad flashbacks that night. And then that week was like really rough for me. So the second time I went back like a week later, I couldn't do it.
Because you have like coping mechanisms and like your brain is like, hey,
Your
last
body
time
stopped.
this. Yeah.
It was so weird. Like I went in there and being like, I know it's working. I want to get through it. And then she put the little pulsey things in my hand and was like, okay, visualize. And I just was like, I don't really see anything. Like it wasn't working. And she was like, do you think there's a reason your brain doesn't want to go there? And I was like, well, probably because I was like fucking terrified and in the fetal position for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But then eventually I got over it. But that's how I knew it worked, is like my brain was actually just like, we need a break. Like, we're going to come back later. But
definitely. It's it's wild the things that our brains do to like survive. Like, you know, in the name of protecting us, but then it's actually like hurting us, and like undoing it is kind of like it's kind of like you know, like there's medicine or you know how like when people do ayahuasca they like vomit first before they can like like that's what it feels like, is like you're like
poison.
vomiting you're vomiting up the like poison before you can get to the like the like good stuff.
I've heard the metaphor like kicking up dust too, and I think that makes sense. Like when you're cleaning, you're gonna probably
make it messier at first. It's, and I'm definitely somebody who doesn't like I don't know, I don't find a lot of joy in like not that everybody does, but there's definitely some people who like really like opening up and like you know, unpacking things, and I'm like, nope, let's just keep that in the box where I put it. And so this is like, it's been difficult, but
what made you want to start this then?
I mean, I realized that like my like pretty cool things are happening with my career, or just not like I'm blowing up, but you know, like I'm seeing the fruits of my labor a little bit more than when I first started comedy, obviously, because when you first start,
be bad if it went the other way.
It's gotten a lot worse since my first open mic. It just gets worse and worse. No, but like it being an actual career and not an aspiration is becoming more real. And I realized that like I didn't want to be one of those people that like gets really successful in my career and it's like my unaddressed trauma that like makes the building tumble down, you know? Like I work so hard building this building, and then my like, you know, trauma lights it on fire.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. There's
so many people that happens to, and they get just so focused on like, I'm a rock star now, and then they like become an addict or, you know, whatever. There's something, because there's like,
it'll come out somehow. And then when you have more resources, money, wealth, whatever, power, it's going to be a lot harder people will say no to you less. And so,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So then,
and you just have dangerous. Way more resources to enable yourself. And, and so like right now I'm like, you know, a poor starving artist, and I'm like, able to kind of
for generous starving artists.
yeah.
Paying people's
but
rents. No.
not always, but yesterday I was. I'm like kind of able to keep a lot of my bullshit at bay just because I'm like too poor to do any, like I'm like I gotta go to work, I have to pay rent, and like I can kind of see, I can see how if I had the money, how like
how you just be a total dick. No.
No. I think I would still be a nice person, but I can see how I'd end up really shooting myself in the foot and like enabling my
Gotcha.
like depression and anxiety and my plethora of other things. So anyway, I just realized that I rather like start addressing it now, so that if like my dreams come true, I'm not like still plagued by the shit that I like put in that box and never opened again, you know, like
that's so healthy. I mean, like it's so mature. It kind of goes back to your tweet, even though your tweet was about relationships with other people. Like I think I mean, this is so like LA hokey, but like I think the relationship with yourself is one of the most important relationships, and you do kind of have to think of it as like another person sometimes. And I think what you said about other people applies to yourself. Like is also very popular to self-deprecate and shit on ourselves. It's sometimes funny, and I do it too. But you're also doing the same thing where you're like, oh, what if I'm having a healthy relationship with myself and like allowing myself to prosper?
So funny that you say that, because one of my biggest breakthroughs that I've had since I've like started making my mental health more of a priority, which I actually got this breakthrough at like a hippie like Reiki group hypnosis thing at my yoga studio, which hey,
cool.
That's something that not just people who live in LA can say. All right. It's also some hokey Brooklyn shit, but I like enjoy those things, especially at my yoga studio. It's like a pretty like self-aware and like pragmatic, like it's not, there's no Kool-Aid being passed. It feels, so it's just like kind of a fun thing to do. But there was a group hypnosis where they like had us like meet ourselves in a mirror.
Ooh,
and like the mirror turned into like a doorway, and like our like, you know, yourself steps through and is now like hanging out with you in like in this scene that they made. And it was, you know, I don't think I actually was hypnotized, because I kept having to like force myself to like okay, what was the scene again, where are we? But I was able to kind of take away from the exercise a pretty profound breakthrough of like thinking of myself as like just a person in the world, and like how I would feel about me if I met me just out on the streets.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, I like her, she's cool.
That's great.
And it was like a really interesting moment of like how hard, and this is such a cliche, everyone says this, but I'm like so much harder on myself than I am like anybody else, and I am just anybody else, you know, like I'm not, it's like I'm not special. Not to say it like in a,
no, I know what you mean though, like because it's like you hold yourself to these high standards because you feel like you have to, because you're the only, but then it's like you're in the world and you're allowed to just like live, you know, like you should.
And like I ended up carrying with me since that like a real profound sense of like empathy for myself, and a really profound sense of like true self-love, and not like the like self-love that I feel like social media kind of promotes, which is like still healthy. I think it is good to like, you know, be like, I like my body, but that's not, you know, like the it seems very superficial the way we talk about self-love usually. And I like actually see myself as like a family member who can like kind of do no wrong, but I'll still hold accountable if I do something wrong. You know what I mean? It's like, I love you no matter what, but we still want you to be the best version of what you can be. And I like, that is like not how I was treating myself at all before that. And I think therapy helped me get to the point of being able to do that. So I'm not going to be like, Reiki got me there, but it just happened to happen in that space. But
it's kind of like, do you ever do self-parenting, or have you worked with that at all?
I haven't. I've read about it, but I've never done anything with it.
I've done a bit of it, like my therapist told me about it, but yeah, I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just kind of like giving yourself that like parental love that if you didn't have it, or even if you did as an adult, if they're not around, it's just like being like a nurturing person to yourself.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like that, because I think the parental love should be unconditional, and you know, it might not be the case for everyone's reality, but I think you can always give that to yourself. So if you find yourself being hard on yourself, I think it's good to be like, okay, I'm going to love myself unconditionally. Doesn't mean I don't want the best, you know, like you want the best for your children, you want them to live in the world and be successful, but you can also know when to back off and be like, you know what, my kid's hurting, like, or I'm hurting right now. And maybe it's not the time to push. Maybe it's the time to just be healing, you know?
Yeah. A good example is I have pretty major depressive episodes where I like kind of just like cannot get out of bed for a couple of days, or, you know, I can literally get out of bed, but the mind state of not getting out of bed. And I used to be really hard on myself and think of myself as like a fuck up and a failure for living like that, when I would get to those points. And now when it happens, it's only happened one time since then, but I noticed that the way I looked at it, instead of being like, oh my God, you idiot, you lazy dumbass, like, you know, like my self-talk was really different. And instead I was kind of thinking of it as like, if this is what you need right now, if you need to rest, then like you should absolutely do that. But I think you feel worse when you do this.
Oh, that's so, yeah. What a like, what a nice way to put it.
And like, so like maybe like go for a walk, or like maybe like see what your friends are doing tonight. And like you don't have to be productive today. You don't have to like get anything done. But like, I don't think laying around is going to make you feel better. So like, what are the things you know make you feel better? And like, that's
sounds
never
like the coolest
how
mom.
I
just
know,
like,
yeah.
what do you need, honey? Like, you can lie in bed as long as you like, but like,
I just don't think
whatever you want. Can I get you any soup?
And to be honest, that is kind of what my mom is like. So it's kind of, it's interesting that like I literally did have a mom like that, and it still took me this long to talk to myself that way. But hey, you know what?
Well, it's
life is hard.
Well, society, I mean, I hate being like society has a blanket statement, but I do think, especially living in New York, we do place value on like being hard on ourselves and tough love, but sometimes it can be toxic.
Yeah.
But yeah, something you said made me think, like I hadn't thought about it this way, but you said something about maybe, I don't remember the exact words, but before you said the right way, like the idea of like, just instead of being like, oh, you fucking dig, you're so good. Because if you were with someone like that in a relationship, if someone treated you like that, you would probably be like, I don't want to be with this person. Like, they're calling me a loser for being sad. Like, I'm going to leave. Yeah. So why would you be in a relationship with yourself? Oh my gosh. Like that, right? Like, get the fuck out of there.
We're breaking ground here.
Yeah, get the fuck out of there. Find a better partner.
It's so true. It's so, I mean, it is such a cliche. Like, as soon as you start making like real progress with your mental health and your emotional health, it's so funny how many cliches are true, and you're like, God, people have been saying this to me for like years, and I keep like rolling my eyes at it, and then like, but when I realize it, it's genius.
Well, you do have to kind of like, I do feel like I learned it the hard way, and I don't know that I would have any other way. So I don't like think of myself as better than someone who doesn't know that or whatever, because I think I have a lot of empathy for how I used to think too. Yeah, me too.
I mean, I think my past self, I like look at it like there's a bunch of us like hanging out, and there's like my past self, my current self, and my like potential self, and you know, my like higher self or whatever. Wow. But I think of it as like, we're all cool, and we all like are friends, and we love each other, and like my past self and like my higher self are like the friends that are trying to constantly give me advice, and like my current self advice.
Interesting.
You know, so like my past self is going to be like, don't do that. You only, you know, like the world is scary, and like people are going to hurt you, you know, like she's scared, and she wants me to be scared. And my higher self like knows my potential and like loves me, but also knows that I'm still scared. And so like, I don't know, like I see it as like, I don't love either of them more, and I don't relate to either of them more, but they're both like part of me, and they're both they're like, you know, it's just like who I am, and it's fine.
I love that.
Yeah,
that's so cool. I mean, yeah, that's like a I've never included I guess that's the next iteration I haven't gotten to, but I've never included my future self as a part of this conversation.
Yeah.
But now I'm going to. I mean, that's really cool.
Well, I think of it as like, I kind of have little conversations with my past self where I'm like,
oh yeah,
hang in there. You're doing great. Like, I love you and like whatever. But so I think of my future self as thinking that way of me now.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Like, I know I'm going to look back on me right now and be like, oh, like, all the things you didn't know yet, but you were doing your best.
Aww,
and so I try to like incorporate that into my current self-talk rather than just give myself empathy in retrospect. That's
so mature. Sometimes I will act out on like you know how children act out because they want to.
Yeah.
Like I will allow myself to do that, but I'll also take the other side. Like sometimes, like I'll just find myself being like really upset about something I know I shouldn't be, and if I'm alone, I'll just be like, I like hate that person, and then I'll be like, okay, well, why do you? What is what's really going on?
Yeah,
and I'll like, and it sounds crazy, but it does make me feel better because then I don't live in that hate, which I know is just resenting myself. You know, whatever it is, if it's jealousy or something, I'll talk back to myself like, okay, but it really seems like you're way too upset about someone getting this thing. Like, do you think that it's maybe forcing you to look at something you weren't spending time on? And I'm like, no. And I like let myself be like, no, oh, you're so annoying. And then I like talk to myself for like a few minutes until I get to a point where like, okay, yeah. Well, all right. Well, like when you calm down and you're ready to like do something about it, like maybe work harder or something.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. And then it calms me down. It sounds so crazy, but it helps me get through like any negative emotions. Cause I don't think the solution is to not feel them.
You have to feel them.
Yeah, but I let myself
throw your little hissy fit, but like hopefully just not
in front of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I do it to myself, so I don't have to like blow up at a friend or something. I just let myself like have a tantrum at myself, and then I'm like, we got it out.
It's also good to have a person or two in your life other than a therapist that you can kind of have hissy fits in front of, not at, but like, you know, they'll witness your frustration and be there for you, because as helpful as it is sometimes to do that with a therapist, I think it's also really nice and important to like have people in your life that like, you know, they might even know that you're in the wrong, but they'll like just let you kind of like just feel in front of them. And as long as you're not like being mean to them, like I have my mom is like that, and my best friend is like that, where I can just kind of like just like scream about something for a minute, and then like now I have a person to kind of be like, whew, that was wild. Anyway, I feel better now, and I'm sorry.
Let's get mimosas.
So yeah, it's good to have that with yourself, but I also think there's no like if there's people that you feel safe with, there's no shame in also doing it with somebody.
What is safe? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that is well said. Well, speaking of having people to talk to.
Okay, here we go.
Anya, is there anything you would like to tell me?
Yes, I've been dying to tell you, Teresa.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
That I sell my nudes to my reply guys.
Define reply guys first for our listeners who I think most people know what it is, but there's different versions.
There's different
them.
versions. I don't like there's so so many. It's obviously way more complicated than the one sentence I just said, but
sure.
No, but just to reel people in. It's the hook.
It, yes.
But basically like a few years ago I started just dabbling in the exchange of money for sexual things. I've never officially, I mean, I guess selling your nudes is sex work, but I'm not like as politically involved in like, you know, sex worker rights and stuff for me to be like, I myself am a sex worker, because I so dabble in it that it's like not it's not, I don't
like
feel
an open micer for
sex exactly work. I am an open micer for sex work for sure, but there's like
is this all internet based?
No, so there's this person I know in real life who we had sex, you know, the traditional you know, non-transactional way a few times. And I think by that point,
I feel like the oldest form of sex was transactional.
I know. I literally, when I said traditional, I was like, I bet that's not even correct. I think traditional
I don't know that it's not that it's like insensitive, incorrect. But when you said that, I was like, I feel like back in the days, there was so much shame around sex that it probably started as like, you have to exchange.
Yeah. Giving like her dad a cow or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
Anyway, that's like the most, you know, like stereotypical thing I could grasp at, but like dowry is a thing.
Yes, totally.
But anyway, I can't remember the exact like chain of events, but at some point I like sold my underwear to somebody who asked, and that felt very like safe because it's like
they asked to buy it, or
they were like, oh, like if I, and there was somebody that like I felt like it was not creepy.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, $20.
They're
And
like, I just want to wear it. No.
Like whatever.
But you're like,
yeah.
I mean, there's a whole. I've heard that there's like a website that connects people to strangers. For
yes.
That. Yeah.
And I briefly thought about doing
that. Punny. Okay.
But I didn't really ever like. I don't know. There's so many hoops you have to jump through because you have to like send it from a post office, but make sure it's a post office that's not near your house. And
and then you have to like take a picture in it because it's a stranger.
You have to take a picture in it, and then you also have to make sure that they can pay you in an anonymous way, and all the anonymous like all the like until this is before Cash App, and before that, like everything has your real name in it, or they'll shut it down if they find out it's for sex work related.
Gotcha.
There's just it's like. And it just ended up being like, okay, this is a lot of work to put into like sending strangers my underwear. It's like an entirely different hustle. And I'm like already hustling in this other thing. So I never really
you need an IT person involved.
Yeah, truly. I'm like, I have other industries I'm trying to break into right now that need my attention more. But I like started to, I know some people who sugar baby. And so I started thinking about it, and I talked to a few friends who have done it or know people who have done it, and I like even like had a game plan. I was like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna meet these people here and have like my like 2 guy friends that they don't know are there like in the bar with us that I'll give a percentage of like I like figured out how it would be safe and like all that. And then I ended up not really doing it. But at the exact same time, that person that I mentioned earlier that I had sex with a couple times, he mentioned that it like turned him on to like take care of me and to support me financially. And I was like, that's so interesting that you say that.
Wow, the universe provides.
Truly. So it was an interesting dynamic. We haven't it's not like it's over now, but we don't hang out that often. But when we do hang out, he'll like give me money and we'll like have sex as we normally did. And I don't know how to define that because part of me is like we were having sex for free anyway, and it turned him on to give me money. So this is just an exploration of kink. Yeah, but I am like paying rent with it,
Yeah. Can I ask if he was a lot older?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. And that was interesting too because it changed how we had sex, and it made me realize that I think
you started clocking the hours. No.
No, I mean I still enjoyed it. Like there's a reason I was hooking up with this person in the first place. But he was all of a sudden way more open to asking for things that he wanted.
Oh, interesting.
I think because he, it was like an exchange of money for like emotional intimacy almost. It's like he would ask me to do things that normally people don't really do until they're like in relationships.
Okay. Is mostly all sexual, or was it a mix of like?
No, it's like sexual and emotional.
Okay.
Like it's like he was paying for the like girlfriend experience almost.
Gotcha. Okay. That's so interesting.
It was. And I know him socially too. Like we're like friends. That's why we started hooking up. And it's like, part of me feels very honored that he like trusts me with like these like kinds of requests on a podcast and talk about.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, literally no one would know who this is.
We don't have crossover.
But it was just an interesting like, and I found myself like kind of excited by it too, because these are things that I would not feel comfortable doing with somebody that I'm hooking up with casually, but with the money, we both know that it's not real, but we can like pretend it's real for this experience.
It's like a buffer. What makes it real though? I mean, I know what you mean, but I'm just curious, like what in your mind was that like line? Like why was it not real if both of you are having positive feelings about the experience?
Because we are not in love.
Okay.
And that's for sure.
So were you saying
I
love you, but not?
Yeah, we would say I love you, and we would just be like, like cozy. And like in this way that like is absolutely not acceptable with somebody that you don't have that with unless there is parameters around it. And with the introduction of money, we also have like conversations about it. It's not like here's a check and now let's just like have like extremely vulnerable sex like that. Like there's
0 to 60.
But
he's like, here's a script, it's like memorize it. And this is,
exactly.
Give me some notes and then we'll enact
money
it.
Is what like made it
safe.
It's what opened the door to like it being on the table to even like explore this option. Like if we were just hooking up and he's like, hey, my thing is I like to make eye contact and say I love you, I would be like and you know,
I know people can't see the face you made, but it was so funny. You just like kind of were like, like that's how I would describe
like
the face.
It's just like I don't it's not that that's not chill. But if you're like hooking up casually, that's a hard pill to swallow to like believe the other person that they're not going to end up being like clingy and weird about it or something. Yeah. Like it's hard to, and that's not to say that it would have been impossible without the money, but it didn't even come up until the money was introduced to the situation. So I think like by taking care of me, like, and me being like his, like, you know, like it's like I'm filling the role of like earlier we off mic we said the flower and garden thing, like somebody like tending to you and you being tended to. Yeah.
I don't know if I've said it on this pod, but brief summary, like in a relationship, someone else told me this, so I don't want to take credit for it, but that she said everyone in a relationship is a flower or a gardener. Again, I don't necessarily think this is true for everyone, but specifically for creative people, I think it's an interesting analogy because a lot of women are expected to be gardeners, but creative women tend to be flowers, and then they date other flowers, especially straight women date a lot of men who are flowers or want to be flowers, and then it doesn't work because nobody's gardening.
Nobody's
so that's the metaphor.
To the flower. So it was almost like an exchange of like he's tending to this flower by like making me not worry about money, and I'm tending to his flower by like you know, like giving him something that he usually can't get out of casual sex.
It sounds like you guys set boundaries.
Yeah.
And
so
that
and
made
I think
it feel
that's
safe.
totally possible without money. Just to be clear. But for me, I think for both of us, it was really helpful. But it
seemed like that's what worked for, and that's why I didn't feel like, I think there's, people do get uncomfortable around like money for sex, but I think that's because, you know, a lot of people have their own hangups about sex and what it should be and what it needs to be and what you are allowed to ask for and whatever. So I think then if you're not progressed in your own relationship with sex, then how can you be with adding another element to it, right? Like money. So I think it's like anything else. It's like if you're healthy about what you want, then I think it totally works. But it tends to scare people because sex itself scares people.
Yeah,
and money scares people.
And money
Both
scares
of those
people,
things scare people.
And sex work scares people for like plenty of sexist reasons. And just like, you know, like I said before, I don't claim to be a spokesperson for sex work, but like I think the reason that I've kind of always been like pretty chill about it and open to it is because I personally I've never seen any shame in it, and there shouldn't be any shame in it. But I think also our relationship with sex as a whole in our society is so backwards that I'm like, I'm not afraid of like what people will think about like this element of it, because people already think horrible things about women having sex anyway.
True. Yeah. Even free sex. You get slut shamed all the time for that. So
and I've always been a pretty openly sexual person. And I think there's something about me, like, I don't know what it is, but since I was like 18, thankfully, since I was 18, if it happened before that, we'd have a problem. But there's something like people are constantly approaching me for, like threesomes or like pegging or like, you know, things that people want to try, and they're like, ooh, Anya might be open to it, or like would help us figure out how to do it. There's just something
like a shaman for sex.
Yeah. And I don't at all claim to be a like particularly experienced or evolved person sexually, but I think there is just something about me that's like sexual that and also the fact that I'm not at all shy about it or ashamed of it, that I think people feel very safe with me. And so this guy that like paid me, I'm the first person he did that with also. And it's like always been something he wanted to try.
Oh, interesting.
There's just like there's this thing about me where I'm just like a lot of people are always like they feel safe to like ask me to do stuff like that.
I wonder, would it have felt different if you guys had never had sex, even if you were attracted to him? Like, did it change that you had already had like sort of a sexual relationship on your own accord before?
I don't know.
Money was involved?
I mean, I don't think it would have been that different, just because he's somebody that I like know pretty well and like trust his intentions.
That's important. Yeah, the trust, I think. That's I guess because I'm trying to think how I would feel, and I think it's not the transaction that I would necessarily be uncomfortable with, but something about that, if a friend who I didn't necessarily have sexual feelings for suddenly asked that, I think I would feel a little bit a violation of boundaries.
Definitely.
But I don't know why, and I think maybe it's a trust, maybe it's respect. Maybe I would have to know that they saw me as like, I would have to have concrete proof that they saw me as more than just a sexual object that they were just fantasizing about. But before I like gave into
weirdly
that.
like, because I was already looking into like being a sugar baby and like was already kind of like getting well versed in that world, I did think about if he had asked me without us having any sexual relationship, and I realized I'd probably still do it because it's the thing that I was already trying to do with somebody. Right. And he was like offering to take out the middle step of getting to know somebody first and seeing if they're like a safe person or not. Like I already knew him and already knew he was like a safe person. You
manifested that.
Yeah. And what's weird is like he definitely was not like, I was like looking to like sugar baby for like a millionaire who would just like pay my rent, and because he's a friend and not necessarily in that financial position, the friends and
family discount.
It's not it's not like we have like an actual sugar baby arrangement. He's not really putting a huge dent into any of my financial status. So if anything, it kind of felt the way it feels when somebody would approach me about any of the other things, where it's like, this is a thing that I'm interested in and you're like somebody I feel safe asking. And there's disrespectful ways to ask that, but in general, people, even if it's not something I want to do, I'm not usually offended when somebody has like a kink that they are wondering if I would be interested in partaking in. And that's what this felt like.
That's interesting, because the way you described it just now, it felt like something you both, like you said, like you do it together.
Yeah,
you're both trying, and I think that's important because like I don't know this person obviously, but I know you, and you're very respectful, and it seems like it's something where you both would go into it trusting each other and respecting each other.
Yeah,
so it feels more like we're gonna try this and see what it is.
And that actually is a great segue into how I started selling nudes to like random people on the internet. So the reply guys are basically just like, and I have plenty of reply guys that are women too, because I'm a queer person and have queer people that also are up in my DMs.
And these are people who you don't know, but they clearly engage. They're trying to like get your attention.
They engage with your content a lot. Like, I think a reply guy is just a touch above like a fan, basically. Yeah. They're like a fan who you now like kind of have some kind of relationship with, because like they reply enough that like this is just a name I recognize. Sometimes I engage with it even. Like, there's different people.
I'll give it a fave. Yeah. But
yeah. And there's shitty reply guys and there's good reply guys. In general, the shitty ones I wouldn't even consider. Like, I think reply guy got a bad rap. I think the shitty ones are like people who are harassing you.
Yes.
And I think reply guys in general, or at least the way that it's kind of evolved, is like they're the people who just like, maybe they're a little bit annoying, but they're like mostly positively engaging with your stuff.
Yeah.
And like, or they like want to like add on a second punchline or whatever.
Or reiterate what you just said.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily like, I kind of like my reply guys. Not all of them. Some of them are very annoying, but most of them are like, oh, this is just somebody who like likes the things I'm posting.
Yeah. We tend to go negative, kind of going back to the thing we talked about earlier, but like they're part of the ecosystem of comedians.
Yes.
Like, no audience, no engagement, no comedy.
And my reply guys come out to my shows when I'm in the same city as them.
Great.
Like if anybody's going to come out, when I post about a date that I'm like in Portland or whatever, like the people who end up coming out that follow me, like at least the ones that tell me about it, here, maybe that's the difference. Maybe they don't approach me afterwards. The people who aren't also my reply guys, and then my reply guy in real life, and they're like, hey, it's me from the internet.
Well, they're just jumping into your set. Hello, I'm gonna tag your jokes.
So
how did the nude part come about?
So I mean, I'm just somebody who's out here taking nudes anyway, and the internet is not very friendly to naked women, so it's not that I'm like, I wish I could post them on Instagram. In general, but, you know. Yes, but like specifically our nudity is much more first of all, I think wrongly defined. I don't really think boobs should count as nudity,
right?
In the traditional sense of like inappropriate. That's just my own, like, I'm just so mad that men can have no shirt and people with pecs can have no shirt and people with breasts cannot, because that extends to trans men as well. It's like the breast tissue is like what defines if it's okay or not, and that drives me crazy. But anyway, so I've always kind of felt like comfortable with nudes and nudity, and there's people who are sexually responding to the things that I post sometimes, my non-nudes, like my, people replying
like
to my stories,
your high school diploma. No.
Yeah. And it occurred to me one day that, well, actually, no, it didn't occur to me. One of my reply guys offered me money. And he was somebody who I already had like kind of an ongoing, like, he would reply to my story and I'd reply to his reply, and then we'd, he'd reply one more time and I wouldn't reply to that, and we'd cycle that repeat like for eternity. And so he was already somebody that I was like, oh, he's friendly, and he like seems to genuinely see me as a full person. Like he responds in equal part to my jokes and my like pretty photos, like he was like, this is somebody who like likes me and is not creepy in my opinion. And then like his Instagram implied that he's like a single dad and like lives in, the other side of the country, and there's just a lot of it just felt very like good intentioned and safe. So when he like was like, hey, and he was very respectful with how he asked, but he was like, you're so beautiful, and like I would love to like compensate you if you'd be interested in like sending me this photo without the editing. And it was a photo of me that was shirtless, where I put like go vote over my boobs, basically. And
classic.
so I was like, I already posted this photo onto the internet, and it just doesn't have my nipples in it. So if he like leaked it, I would feel fine about that. Not like, I would still feel like that's a violation because I didn't personally post it, but it felt very low stakes.
You were assessing the risk.
Worst case scenario, he posts this somewhere and everyone's like, yeah, we basically saw this photo already. Like, so I was like, sure. And so he like sent me money and I sent him that photo, and then like kind of similar to the other situation, we just like began a relationship where he would ask for a photo and I would like take it for him, and he would like send me money for that, and it felt very similar to my friend who I was having sex with, but without any physical touch. So it felt almost even more like less, it was like, not that having sex with that guy was violating, but there was less chance of it feeling violating, because it's like, you're not even touching me, and these are photos that I would probably take for fun anyway. And so that was like what opened my interest to doing it in general. And so now I have like maybe like 4 or 5 guys and one
like
woman, actually. What?
And when you say 5 guys, I just thought of the burger.
Who I have like on and off, like of varying degrees, a relationship where they like send me money and I send them nudes.
Will you ever send the same photo to more than one person?
Yeah.
Do they know that?
Some of them do.
Okay.
The ones who I do that to know
Gotcha.
that. Yeah. And then some of them, there's this one guy who basically like pays me to sext with him.
Gotcha.
He pays me for photos I send to him and for photos that he sends to me. He pays me for both.
Well, that's someone who understands consent because he's
Yeah.
like, can I send you?
Yes.
some-"
Yeah. And that's the thing. I don't do this with anyone who doesn't immediately in the conversation like show that they know the dynamics of like being respectful and asking for permission for like every step of the process.
Yeah.
And paying me for every step of the process. Like some of them like for me to like also send like a sexy caption or whatever, but they need to pay me for that too.
Yes.
And they need to know that up front.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Cause it's like you really like know, like it's like something, even though it's new, like you're already like, I know there's value in all these things cause you want it.
Yeah.
Like whether or not like, you know, you might be captioning an Instagram post for free, but that's not the point because this person now wants a private one. So it's like, there's obviously value there.
With the guy who sends me photos back, it's interesting because he is really fucking hot. He's like really hot.
Is that part of it? Like he wants someone to be like, you're so hot?
Yeah, but like it's like, so he wanted part of what he wants is just to for me to like be honest with him about how I feel about the photos he's sending me. So he's open to it being me being grossed out by it or turned on by it. And either way, he just likes knowing that I saw it.
He's like running his set.
Yeah.
His naked pictures with you.
Yes, literally. And it's so funny because I thought like I was at first very uncomfortable with the idea of being insulting to him before I saw what he looked like. And this was like, he's like, so this is what I'm interested in. Would you do it? So I was like, I'll do it. But then I like on the inside, I was like, I'm nervous. What if he's like fucking like, I'm not into him at all. And I have to like say that. Like that felt really like, I'm not a dominating person in my like sexuality really. So I have a hard time being like, you're a fucking scummy piece of shit. You know, the shit that like dominatrixes
well,
would
even
say.
that's like a performative, but just
I know.
pure honesty. There's something really vulnerable and just being perfectly honest. Like not extremely mean, not extremely nice. So honest that it's like now you see me because you see how I feel.
Yes.
Like that's vulnerable.
Yeah. And so I was nervous about it, but then it was very fortunate that I am actually like, I'm like, okay, you're hot. Like this is a good picture. And if we were like, I don't say this part, but I'm just like, if you weren't paying me for this, I would just be like enjoying sexting this person right now. Like,
and I do think, but I mean, obviously everybody has their different kinks, but I think that's a misconception that like you wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's okay. Like almost part of it, like this person might be paying you because they're getting something out of it, but they also like might want you to enjoy it. That might be part of it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. There's definitely people who like, because I've like tweeted about that I do this, both to like let people know.
Yeah.
But then also just because I'm trying to like destigmatize, just like all the different iterations of like kink and sex and like I think that the exchange of money in sex people get really nervous about for plenty of both reasonable and unreasonable reasons, but a lot of people, including myself, I've learned through this, just find it hot to like exchange money.
Sure.
For like there's something about it that's like it just kind of I can't
Cardi
even
B
explain
has
it.
that line like if he like I don't remember, he can make you rich and he can make you come.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay, girl, I see you.
Yeah. There's I think Doja Cat also has she's got a whole song about it where she's like, if you pay me, like let's do it. You know, like
Well, the thing about the enjoyment too, like I kind of like if you map it to comedy, like when you go watch a comedian, like you should pay to go see it. But yes, of course we'll also do free shows. Yeah. But like it would be weird to be like, I'll only go pay money to go see a comedian who hates performing comedy
I'm holding them hostage. Like
I don't think anybody wants to go watch. I mean, well, unless that's your thing, but in general, that's not the expectation. It's not that you go watch. You don't pay to go see a Broadway show knowing that like these dancers fucking hate dancing, but they're only doing it because I'm paying them. Like, I don't know why that guy got Southern, but like, you can pay for sexual things without like. Also be okay knowing like, and also maybe even enjoy it more knowing that they also enjoy doing it and taking your money, and that's okay. Like,
I mean, it's interesting because like the money is what made it possible in the first place for some of these people. Like I wouldn't be sending these people nudes if they weren't paying me, but that doesn't mean I'm not also equally enjoying our interaction and our experience once it's happening.
Sure.
And I'm not like, I'm not like clocking in and clocking out. Like I'm enjoying our conversations, and all of these everybody that I've done this with, I have a fully separate friendship with too, where they like reply to my stories with just like their opinion on what's going on with Bernie right now. And we just like talk about that. And it's like, they're like my friend, like, you know, they're like regular customers at like your job where you're like, I have this whole friendship with them outside of what they pay me for. And so I'm not like, it's not like anybody could slide into my DMs and be like, send me nudes for this much money and I would do it. Like I've curated my clients.
Yeah.
But it is like they are all exclusively people that I know through them being my reply guys.
That's so funny.
At some point.
I love that. Yeah, I feel like it's so funny. I love sending nudes, and I will joke that like, because I mostly only do it with people I'm in a relationship with. Yeah. And I was in a long distance Snapchat relationship for a bit, so very fun. But when I'm single, I do like miss sending them. That's
been huge for me, honestly, because like right now I have somebody I could send nudes to, but
it's also a risk because sometimes I'm like, if I meet someone, even if like we're dating, like I'm like, I don't know if you like this, and if obviously they're not gonna say no. Usually when I say like, do you like getting nudes, people be like, sure, but it's like, but do you? Because do you like actually? What I'm gonna be doing is like, I'm gonna try to look hot, and then I like need you to tell me I'm hot. Exactly. Like I can't send this to you and have a nice bro. Like I can't. That you can't respond like cool. Like
right. Exactly.
Like, if you don't want this, I won't send it.
Like there are plenty of people that I've been in relationships with that I've had much less fulfilling like sexting interactions with than with the people who I don't know and pay me to do it. Like that doesn't mean that I don't still love sending nudes to the people that I'm like romantically involved with. Like I love doing it regardless. It's fun. But there is something about it where like, this is something that we both are doing. Like they are paying me right now to do this. And so like, I'm getting money, they're giving money. Like this is the activity right now. Yeah. It's not like, ooh, gonna send you a nude and like, hope you go like, oh my God, babe, you're so hot. Like this person is like, hey, are you online right now? And then they like Venmo me. And I'm like, you know, like it's there's something very fulfilling about it if you do enjoy sending nudes, because it's like you are getting exactly the reaction that you're like hoping for when you send nudes to somebody that is like, I've only had a great experience with it. And then my risk assessment, now that I'm sending photos that aren't just photos that I post to Instagram that are edited, is possibly these will get leaked. So if it's something that's like pretty sexual, like full pussy or something, my face isn't in it and no identifying tattoos are in it usually. And then anything with just like my boobs or my butt, I'm like, it would and honestly, this is true about any of it. If you leaked this, we're now in a time where everyone would take my side and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then a few people would probably shame me for it, but they're the same people that I don't care what they think anyway. And then I'm not in a career where it's gonna like fuck up my career.
Yeah,
you know?
It would probably help. No, I mean,
like honestly, publicity wise, it might if it became a whole thing. Not that I am hoping for that at all. I'm not, but
also like these are people who are paying for it and have a relationship. It'd be hard. I mean, doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but it'd be hard to believe that they'd pay for it and then be like, here, everyone take this thing I curated and built a relationship. Like, it's like, why would you wait in line to buy sneakers and then give it away? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
that's a bad metaphor. That's also why I like, I'm only doing it with people that I feel are just like genuinely just like sweet people who like wouldn't do that. You know, I'm a pretty good judge of character, but then also there's just an element to it where like, these are people, some of them are like that. One of them's like a dad. He doesn't want his kids to know that he did this to somebody. I'm pretty good at kind of sensing if this is if they're capable of it, even.
You're
you know?
Intuitive. Well, speaking of judging, have you gotten any because you talk about it online, I don't know if you talk about it in your comedy, but have you gotten like negative responses or people like shaming or judging?
Not really. I have a joke about it in my comedy. I have a joke about the being paid for sex in my comedy, and the it does really well. Like audiences seem to be pretty understanding about it. It's like so much in our zeitgeist right now, the idea of sugar babying and like sex work is real work. And, you know,
Yeah.
people in general seem to be pretty like supportive.
And I think we take the performer's cue, like you're speaking about it very eloquently and respectfully and like knowledgeable. Like you're not doing it to shock or to like take a like.
And my whole joke is
yeah.
My whole joke about it is very like
it's informed. It's not, and it's funny, and you're very funny. I've seen you. So like I imagine it's just like it's a delight to watch a funny comedian who knows what they're talking about. So.
And especially about something that people are so curious about anyway. So if anything, I think people are just like excited to be like, oh yeah, what is the deal with sugar babying, you know? And by the way, once again, I don't really know the deal. Like I'm, but
I got a deal for you. Here's my promo code.
Yeah. But my DMs are open, folks. But yeah, I think so. Just from response, like while I'm on stage and they're in the audience, it's been very positive. And then off stage, I just have a lot of women just telling me about their experiences with the same thing. Like that's kind of like my experience with any of these like kind of tougher subjects like abortion or whatever, like all the things that you think you might get some like really negative reactions to. In general, it just brings the people who also have that experience out from the woodwork and like they just want to be like, hey, I really appreciated you talking about it the way you did. Like, have a great night. You know, like it's just the people who judge you for it are quieter in general.
Cool.
Or they're so loud that they're the asshole, you know, like online more often than in real life. But like when somebody's just being like judgmental to a point where they're like making it known. Yeah. Usually like I'm like, okay, I don't fucking care. Like
you're
that doesn't.
You're working something out on your own, so.
Yeah. Like I'm just gonna block you or have like so many of my followers and my like fellow comedians fight a lot of my battles for me without me asking. Like, you know, like they'll just really step in and be like, this is why you're wrong and you're a piece of shit. And I don't even really have to say anything usually. If anybody is rude about something like that. But in general, it just like people think it's funny and like a lot more people are doing this than people realize. And I just happen to be talking about it. But like I now know it's one of those things where as soon as you come forward about something, you find out about all the people who aren't coming forward about it because they're like, hey, me too. You know, like I'm also doing that. But they just don't want people to know about it. But like I'll be the first to tell you that selling nudes to your reply guys is something that a lot of comedians are doing.
Comedians even.
Well, a lot of those are people I know.
I feel like a lot of the younger generation, I would assume, is more open to stuff like this because they came up in like Instagram and Cash App and all these resources and have less shame about sex. Yeah, I think my age and above tend to have like a lot more hangups about it. Like I'm on the cusp where I'm very open to it, but I need to like have a long conversation to understand it before I like jump into something like that. Yeah. But I felt that way about the Snapchat relationship. I felt like it was very radical that it was happening. And I was like, how is this a thing? But then once I talked about it, more people were like, oh yeah, I had something like that. And there's someone I knew, but then there were, and we did end up dating, but there were people who just met people online and then would just have just purely digital. Yeah. Well, you know what's so interesting is that I've had plenty of like long distance situations with people where we primarily our sexual interactions are over the phone or online or something just because of distance, where I have not engaged in like as revealing like photos or videos as I have been for the people who are paying for it, because I used to be like very much like, oh, I know you want to see my vagina, but you don't actually want to like a video of it. We would both be grossed out by like, there was like this residual shame about, you know, my pussy not being a porn pussy and like feeling like it was ugly and stuff. And then also just like putting yourself in compromising positions that are like, technically it would be hot, but there's also something embarrassing about this. And when people were paying for it, there was something where it's like, well, they are paying for it, so they definitely want it. So I'm just going to like send it to them. And if they don't like it, it's not going to hurt my feelings the way somebody that like I'm really into not being into it would hurt my feelings. It's like, imagine if Playboy was free. Do you think people would still like it? People be like, oh, that free magazine with the boobs? No, well, I don't want it. Like people passing out in the street.
Yeah, I mean that. But then also for me, it's just like, it just took completely any self-consciousness out of it, because I'm like, I don't care if this person ends up being like, oh, actually your vagina is not for me or whatever, because I don't care about this person.
You asked for it. So.
Yeah, you asked for it. I got the paycheck anyway,
Yeah.
and then like let's move on. It's not somebody who I'm like, oh, but I was in love with you.
Oh yeah.
And this like,
true.
so now I actually have this really. It was a very. There's been a shift in like how I see myself and my own sexuality, where I'm like, oh, I'm like really hot, and I felt that way a little bit before, but now I feel it on a whole different level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like changed. It's changed me. I'll be honest. Like having these like ongoing, like for lack of a better word, like sexting relationships with these like paying customers, has made me like be way more into me, because
That's
I've like
awesome.
been taking these like sexy videos and sexy photos for people and being like, oh yeah, this is actually like, I'll be like, oh, he's gonna fucking love this. And like, and I'm like excited about it in a way that has made me, with sex in real life, like way more into myself and way more confident. And like, you know, it's a cliche that women are like embarrassed by their own like pleasure and embarrassed to like ask for what they want. And I didn't even think that was true about me until I like broke down whatever barrier has been broken down by this
That's
reply
awesome.
guy relationship I've developed.
Well, I think that I feel like that's such a like positive note to end on.
Yeah.
I mean, I really I thought this was a great conversation, and I'm thankful for you for sharing. And actually, the game I have, I didn't actually know you were going to confess this, but I did look at your Twitter, and it's about reply guys.
Yes.
So okay, we're gonna play a game. It's called Reply Guy or Yogurt Ad, and I'm just gonna read a comment. It's not always a comment. I'm going to read a statement, and it's either a comment from a reply guy on an Instagram, and these are like taken from like sort of like influencer model Instagrams, you know, the types. Or it's like a yogurt ad, something said in a yogurt ad.
Okay.
So pretty straightforward. Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to start with the first one. This first one is, wanna grab breakfast in a few? Is this from a reply guy or a yogurt ad?
A reply guy.
You're correct. This is a reply guy. I'm not gonna read the names just in case, but this is a real comment, and it's commented on Rada. So
That's so funny.
Emily Ratajkowski. She has a lot of reply
This
guys.
person just really thinks she'd be like, yeah, where do you want to get breakfast?
Yeah, I feel like it's a way of being like, this is what I mean. Like, there's a difference between being like beautiful and a reply guy. This is like a way to be like, it's sort of sexual. Like, we just woke up together. Like it's almost like getting her to think that they're like in bed together. You're gonna go grab breakfast.
Weird.
It was a revealing photo, but that's not consent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a difference, and I think we as women on the internet know the difference, and some men think they're getting away with just being like, nice freckle, but like there's a way you say it where you're like, you're trying to, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm
no. I
making
understand
sense.
what you're saying. There's like
Okay.
an unearned intimacy.
Yeah, that one
sometimes.
felt like one for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
here is another one. This is, I think I found the perfect snack.
reply guy.
This is actually a Dan and Oikos commercial, but it would be a good reply guy comment.
I want somebody to reply that to my photos.
Okay, this one's all good, no bad. Reply guy or yogurt ad?
I mean, I'm just gonna stick to reply guy. I'm just gonna keep guessing.
They
reply
could all
guy.
be reply guys, but this is a Chobani ad.
That's so funny.
Chobani ad, all good, no bad.
All
'cause,
good,
you know,
no bad. Oh wait,
eating is bad.
Isn't that their slogan actually?
Maybe I don't know, but
For some reason, their like font is coming to mind.
Oh,
And I'm,
yeah.
like, seeing it.
so it's working.
Yeah.
Yeah, yogurt ads. Watching these really took my soul, because I'm like, why do you guys make eating seem like such a bad thing? It's okay to eat.
They're like, finally, something that isn't going to make all your friends hate you for doing it.
Right.
Finally, your family won't
Finally,
abandon you
yeah.
if you eat this.
Get them to love you again. Okay, this next one. You're really gonna let her go out like this?
Ugh.
Is this a reply guy or from a yogurt ad?
You're really going to let her go out like this? That's gross either way. Reply guy.
Correct. This is a reply guy, and it was on Josie Canseco, who I think is beautiful, but she's dating Logan Paul. Girl, get away from him. Okay. So I guess all his reply guys are now her reply guys. That's what happens
Yeah.
when you date into an influencer family.
You got to be careful which influencer you date. I've been saying this from the beginning. You got to choose the right influencer.
Okay, this next one is you have to eat.
A yogurt ad.
This is a reply guy on Elsa Hosk's Instagram. If you guys like thirst traps, she loves to post them, and she knows she's hot, and she's a Victoria's Secret model, and she loves to post photos where she's very empowered, and she's like, here, I'm feeling good. So she's a great follow. But someone just said you have to eat
because she's skinny.
I think so.
Yeah.
But also trying to get her attention, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, final one. Taste the power.
Yogurt ad.
Correct. Yay. Okay, that was too easy. That was a yogurt ad. You did great. So you win the game.
Thank you so
much.
much.
The prize is you can tell the listeners where to find you.
Oh my God. I love the idea if I didn't win, you're like, okay, bye.
Bye. I'm deleting the episode.
Everything is not worth it. You just wasted an hour of your life. You can find me at Anya Volz, ANYAVOLZ on everything. Twitter and Instagram. Slide into my DMs if you seem trustworthy. Maybe we can send nudes to each other. But you'll pay me for both, by the way. And AnyaVolz.com for my projects and tour dates and just fun little fun facts about me, articles I've written, nice. All the goods.
Hell yeah. Yeah, go follow her. Go watch her comedy. Follow this podcast at Tell Me Anything Pod, and follow me at Larissa T on Twitter and Instagram. Goodbye.
Goodbye.